Well, thank you all for coming tonight. For those who I have not met, I'm John Hannon, and I am very happy to see everyone here tonight. I'm hoping that everybody's really interested in the information we're going to go through tonight, as opposed to just having nothing else to do on such a rainy day. But we do have a great program scheduled for you. In a minute, I'm going to turn the program over to Bob McKillop, who is the chairman of our Facility Master Plan Committee. Bob will introduce our guests from Judd Brown, our architectural and consulting firm, and we have representatives from Donnelly Construction here as well. We also have members of your board of directors, most of them up in the front area here, and our management team is here tonight. In terms of the format, can everybody hear me okay, first of all?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the format, Bob McKillop will provide an overview of the plan, and hopefully you've all had a chance to read through the brochure. The Judd Brown representatives will explain the detailed floor plan and other architectural aspects. And then Bill Ramsey, our club secretary, will recap the proposals for the changes we'll need to make in terms of our membership and fee changes, the proposed assessments, the required bylaw amendments to accomplish all this, and the voting process and the timeline. After the formal part of the presentation, we'll reserve plenty of time for questions and answers. What I'd like to say before I turn it over to Bob is that what you see is that the plans reflect your input. The proposed improvements emanated from the focus group meeting several years ago. And from those ideas, there was a great deal of effort over the past several years to take those ideas and develop what you see tonight, the details of the plan. We also had a very positive response when we described the proposals at our member informational meetings last month. So in summary, this is what you oppose. I would like to thank some people who contributed a great deal to this. I'd like to thank Dr. Mike Manley, who is here. Mike, who was Mike got the process off the ground a couple of years ago. He was the initial chairman when we started the process of the Facility Master Plan. He kind of took it from I won't even call it the 30,000 feet. It was kind of the galactic level, and got it down to something that that made sense and began to take shape. And Mike's term expired in January, and at that time, Bob McKillop took over for Mike. And I would like to just thank Mike for all his time and effort over the 2 years prior in getting the plan to where it is. Certainly, I'd like to thank Bob McKillop, who's done an enormous amount of work since taking over from Mike. I would like to thank all of their committee members who are listed in the brochure, and I would just ask you to look through those names and make sure you give all those people a thank you. They put in an enormous amount of effort. They put in countless hours listening, evaluating, working with each other, doing a lot of homework, visiting other clubs, consulting with our architects and consultants, and developing the plan. And the reason was simple. They simply wanted to make this a better club. And so we really do owe them a great deal of thanks. Now, of course, to do what we want to do, we have to pay for it. And so we will review the financing plan that is in the brochure. The outline is in the brochure that was sent to members last week. And I just want to say there that the board spent an enormous amount of time, a considerable amount of time, analyzing, modeling, reviewing, whatever the nomenclature is, plans that we believe would work for our club. We focused on making it affordable to members. We wanted it to be well-structured. You see a 15-year mortgage in there, and equitable to all member classes. We have over 700 members in the club, and it's a very comprehensive plan to the clubhouse, the pool, and our facilities here. And we felt that we gave a lot of thought to trying to make sure that all members contributed equitably to the financing. Now, you'll also see that we took the opportunity of the plan, financing structure, to address some important issues for our club. And in short, those issues can be summed up as we need more regular members. We're doing okay. We're covering our costs. But we must build that category for the long-term future of our club. Over the past several years, we have heard from our members consistently that the initial price for our new applicants and our new members is simply too high, given the market, given our competition, given the financial demands on the younger families today. And therefore, you'll see some of the important proposals in here that we've taken the opportunity to address within the structure of this financing plan, is to lower the price of the membership certificate fairly dramatically, and further defer the front-end initiation fee to allow people to pay it in installments over 4 years instead of 2. So we're hoping that makes a big difference. So what we have is really an integrated financing plan, taking those issues and combining them with all of the financing structure of the master plan. Bill Ramsey will touch on these, and we will cover any questions in the Q&A. And with that, I would like to turn the program over to Bob McKillop, Chair of our Facilities Master Plan Committee. Bob?
Thanks for everybody for joining us this evening. This is a very important moment for our membership in the club. This is the vision of the clubhouse for the future and how it affects not only everybody here in this room, but the prospective members that we want to join. As John mentioned, it is a very competitive landscape out there. And we think all the changes that we're proposing today will not only benefit us, but future generations for the club. Before we get started, I would like to introduce some of the important players that helped us get to here where we are today. From Judd Brown Designs, we have Judd Brown. Architecture, we have Wayne Jacks. We also have from Donnelly Construction, Rod Donnelly is over here to our left. His colleague who's sitting in the front row, Shazad Khan. I don't think there's anybody from Lopatka Associates here, but they have been working with us as well on the site plan, so we do want to recognize their input. I too want to thank the prior master plan committee for all the effort that they put into this project. I mean, really what you're seeing today is the outcome in the development of a lot of their ideas. The current master plan committee of myself, Kevin Boswell, Bill Dunn, Evan, and John, really what we were able to do was to synthesize a lot of those ideas into a much more streamlined plan that we think is much more affordable, not only for our membership, but for members for the future. So we do want to recognize those prior committee members, and I do want a big shout out for Bill and Kevin, who worked with me on countless hours over the last number of months to get us to where we are today. I also want to thank Mike Manley. Mike was an unbelievable leader through this process. He's been a great source of resources for me and has provided a very smooth transition and a good handoff to allow us to achieve our plan results today. What, as John mentioned, what you see is what really all of us have come up with. And hopefully all of you had time to look at the brochure and study the details. But we're really focused on 4 key areas that we think the members were most focused on. We heard loud and clear that we needed a new and expanded bar/pub area. So in the renderings and the floor plans, you see a larger, wider pub lounge, which is very important to the members. We also heard loud and clear that we need new and improved casual member dining for both indoor and outdoor use. We have now a new Champions Grill, and we have a new covered overlook patio complex on the back of the clubhouse, as you can see on this photo on the left. We'll also incorporate a nano wall, which is critically important because on nights like tonight, when the weather is very inclement, we have a lot of members that want to enjoy the outside, or at least have the views of the outside. We're going to be able to pull those glass nano walls shut, and you'll be able to enjoy the exterior view and the comfort of air conditioning on a night tonight when it's rainy, hot, and humid. The other thing that we heard loud and clear from the members is a new pool complex, including a kiddie pool and new locker rooms. That's part of the plan. Finally, it's the pro shop and bag storage area. We wanted to do that for 2 reasons. One, to enhance golf operations and efficiency of the golf course. And number 2, and most importantly, to improve the exterior site plan for the club. So we have one integrated site plan from west to east. We didn't think it made sense to try to separate those two projects, so we wanted to wrap that into this particular phase. So the other thing that we wanted to do is, over the years, there's been a number of additions to the clubhouse. What we're really trying to do is restore the back of the clubhouse to the original Clifford, Glendon Heck, Normandy style architecture. And we think, with the help of Judd Brown and his team, we've been able to achieve that result. So what that's going to do for us is the back of the clubhouse is going to look a lot more like the front of the clubhouse, both in terms of finishes, look, and feel, and we do think it'll restore the club to its original intent. Now, the project itself costs $10.25 million. We built in a $750,000 contingency. I'm personally highly confident of these estimates. We've spent countless hours with the Judd Brown team, the Donnelly team, and LaPaca Associates on our estimates and our overall game plan to deliver this project. Additionally, what we've done to minimize risk and make sure that we understand where all potential risks for the club may be, with the help of Donnelly Construction, we've undertaken a very detailed survey of our existing infrastructure, our power systems, our HVAC, our water system, our fire system, our plumbing, and all of those have checked out very well today. But certainly there could be some things that we discover if we were to embark on this project, but we thought that was an important element to get that out of the way. So we're entering this project with our eyes wide open. Number two, we commissioned an asbestos study. In an old building like this, you never know. And we also commissioned a radon study. Both of those studies came up negative. So we feel very good going into the project that we're minimizing as much risk as humanly possible. We've also done that with the preliminary site work that Kevin Boswell is expert in, and if he wants to talk about that later we can. Making sure that we know how much dirt we're going to move, how everything's going to lay out, so there's no surprises to the membership. So, with that said, we have developed a very robust financial plan, and we have developed what we think, as John mentioned, and this is the key point that I think everybody has to focus in on. It's an integrated membership financing plan, not only to pay for the project itself, but as important, develop a plan that will attract more regular members into the future. Because in this competitive private club environment, the key to the future is to retain our existing regulars and to continue to grow that. We've done a good job with associates, a good job with our juniors, but we need to have a value proposition that brings more regular members into the club. So hopefully everybody keeps a very open mind when they're looking at the financing plan and the costs, because that is a critical component and it all needs to work together. Now, in terms of the financial model, we spent countless hours on this. We think it's very prudent, we think it's detailed, and we think it gives us the financial flexibility to keep the club in a very sound and strong financial position. And that is what the board wants to achieve. It will also allow us to continue to invest in greens and grounds, a world-class golf course, as well as other aspects of the facilities. So rest assured, the financial plan that we develop is conservative, is fit for purpose, and it's going to work. Finally, there's a lot of work in front of us. So what you're seeing here is a lot of conceptual thought process. So over the next number of months, we will be developing detailed architectural plans. A lot of work is going to go into that. We've already received much good member feedback. We're going to continue to encourage that as we finalize our thinking, because it will take some time. With regard to that, I am very certain that we should be able to begin this project in early September of 2019, and weather permitting, we should be finished on time, on budget, late May, early June 2020. And we've got 1 year to plan for this, working with the Donnelly team who are expert at these types of projects around northern New Jersey. There's a lot of pre-staging we can do to make sure that we achieve those timetables. So, with that said, I did want to make two final comments. One, phase two. It is part of the plan, it's part of the master plan, just like there were many aspects of the original master plan 15 years ago that were part of the plan, and that will be done in due course. But we are totally committed to get this done in a very professional way, done in the right way, that not only satisfies every single member, but it gives us a very proud product to show future members. The board is unanimously behind this plan, because combined with our world-class golf course, it will separate us and set us apart for generations in private club environment in the tri-state area. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mike Manley, because a lot of this was his thought, and I thought it was very important for him to have a few words. Thank you.
To the committee, the 20 people that you see listed in the brochure went through 6 iterations of our plan as we developed crazy ideas and then shot them down and went to further crazy ideas. And eventually we came to a plan, iteration 6, which we thought was tolerable. There's one person missing from the committee list, which is Dave Clark. He was masquerading as historian at the time, so his name got missed. But Dave is here in the front of the room, and Dave was an integral part of the plan. One of the important things that we've tried to achieve, and I'm proud to say that Bob and his committee have managed to keep for us, is the historic nature of this club. We are on the National Historic Register, as you know, deservedly so. And what the new committee have managed to do is to keep those aspects of the club intact. And Judd and Peter and Wayne have been really instrumental in helping to make sure those parts of the club stay intact. So as time goes by, as the plan develops and as the building starts to take shape, everybody should keep an eye on them, make sure they don't upset the historic nature of this clubhouse. We have to protect this, and it's the most important thing we have to do here. We have to accommodate families, we have to accommodate golfers, and we need to keep the club and its historic nature intact. So congratulations to Bob and Kevin and Bill, who took what was a conceptual plan and made it into something which I think now is practical. And that's a really important step forward. So once again, thanks to the committee, thanks to you all for coming, and it was a pleasure to be involved with this. Thank you.
I'm the architectural principal for the Judd Brown Designs and Jefferson Group Architecture. And we'll start with reviewing the floor plans that are all the slides are the same that were in the brochure. So there's nothing new here that you haven't seen before. So just starting with the site plan in general, the clubhouse here, the pool complex is remaining where it is. It's an all-new pool complex. Doing some regrading to get it at the proper level for the lower level, which is where the new pool locker rooms are. New wraparound terrace on the backside overlooking the pool and the golf. And some work done on the pro shop and the staging area, the bag room, fit back in that corner, which we removed part of the building right here, which opens up some of the clearances back in there, and we recreate parts of the pro shop storage and cart storage on the lower, or bag storage on the lower level.
Technology.
All right, and the pool complex, it's a new 6-lane heated pool with a modified zero entry. So this area it's zero entry, so you'd have handicap and easy access for elderly or children in that area. There's a new kiddie pool, which in today's club it's usually a splash pad rather than a kiddie pool. It's more versatile for a larger age range. Expanded improved pool deck. Upgrade air conditioned locker rooms. So on the lower level, under the terrace, there's new boys and girls locker rooms. There's new family locker rooms, new snack bar, and a new bar, and also some dining for golfers at the turf are located all on the lower level on the backside of the club. The main level, which is the entry level of the club, as you can see from the tones here, this kind of brownish tone is renovation, so nothing major. It's more interior decor being upgraded in those areas. The orange color is new construction. Most of this is on the existing deck, which is above us. So the existing Century room will be taken down. We'll be building on top of this deck for most of this construction. And then you have the large terrace on the backside of the club. And as Bob mentioned, there's a panel wall around it, so it can be totally open air or enclosed depending on the season, temperatures, what's going on. There's also a grand stair that will take you from one level to the next, so that members have complete access on both levels of the club. As a plan-wise, the main goal was to kind of great environment like today. Today's clubs are much different than when the Century's room was done or when the club was made. So it's more a destination restaurant, where you have a large member bar lounge area here, separated from member dining, still in the same space, so you can hear some of the interaction between the two areas, but they are separated so that the noise levels might be different in the two levels, and that opens onto the large terrace on the back. One of our specialties is clubs. We do a lot of them mainly on the East Coast, a lot in the Jersey market, and we've done 3 other Wendihack buildings, so we're very familiar with this style of architecture. So we understand what goes into this architecture and what we need to do to make this the club that the members want. One other thing, we are adding an elevator which will connect all the floors, both the 3 main levels and also the 2 half levels of the men's locker room. So it will be accessible, which is currently not, so that'll be a big improvement to the plan. On the lower level, this is the addition, which has the bag storage and storage for the golf operations. The room we're meeting in, the members' grill, will be updated decor renovation. And then the back side of the club, we have new members' men's and women's restrooms, which are related to both at the turn and also for this room. We get into the snack bar here, which serves both the pool and the golfers at the turn. Family restrooms, boys and girls locker rooms, and storage at the end of the building. Up level, second level, there's no work really planned at this time in this phase except for bringing the elevator to the upper level, which would include the meeting rooms and the admin offices on the upper level. So this is a view of the corner of the building, so it'll be looking straight in from this angle here. So that angle is right here. We're inside this room here. So we're picking up on some of the Tudor style architecture, both the stone, the brick, the half timber style with the slate roofs. So as you can see, this is the new member grill room on this level. Vaulted space, windows, lots of nice volume that is traditional in Wendihack buildings. This is the stair tower that brings you between the 2 levels and the rear terrace. As you can see, this portion shows the nano wall closed. This portion open, so you can open or close any percentage of that as you want, depending on the size of the groups and what the weather's doing. This is the view from the pool, so we're wrapping a little farther around the building. The existing buildings here in the background, so we're doing the wraparound porch with the timbers, which starts picking up on the half timber architecture. The lower level, we have arches, which are made of brick and stone. Stairs from the main level down to the lower level, so if there's a function, members can use both the upper and lower level. Uniformly, they can access any part of the club from internally or external on the terrace. The overlook terrace is also rebuilt for the main dining room, which is over the locker rooms and the storage room. This is the Champions Grill Room. So the interiors are just an indication of space, volume, style that might be. These will be developed much further as we go further along, as far as bringing in the architectural details from the outside, bringing them in with some of the stone brick features, usually taller ceilings, beams, kind of half timber style. So this is looking from the golf course back towards the back side of the bar. So in this case, you can see through the bar, it's glass. You don't get all the sound going through, but you also get some of the visual cues between the 2 rooms. The Ryder Cup Lounge is the tall space that has the upper windows, grand fireplace, which backs up. It's actually on this wall upstairs, so it's a grand fireplace, picking up once again on some of the architectural details. vaulted space, built-in trophy cases for a lot of the club history, and just to be a mixture of seating in here, from lounge, comfortable seating, table seating, booths, banquettes, just a variety of seating that will all be developed as we move further. This is looking the other direction of the room. So this shows the bar. Through here is the member dining. The upper windows with the volume. So it just keeps picking up on the architecture and some of the volume that Wendac typically had in his buildings. Phase 2 includes the two main features of it would be a golf building, which would be out on the range, so that during inclement weather or year-round, there could be hitting bays, which could have simulators in them, and they all have garage doors, so that during good weather, garage doors can open and you can hit onto the range. Small seating area, club fitting in the restroom, and a pro's office. So this building would be on the range, not decided where, but it would be a freestanding structure that would be open year-round for lessons or practice. And the paddle building floor plan, this would replace the existing paddle building, so it's much larger. There's a warming hut area with tables and casual seating, fireplace overlooking the paddle courts, a paddle pro shop, changing room and an office, and men's and women's restrooms with showers. That concludes my part.
I'm going to describe the bylaw changes, some of the membership changes, and then the voting process. The first thing you see when you get the materials is that we're going to ask you to ratify, as required by the bylaws, a change that the board made allowing House members to transfer to associate. That's already been a fairly popular membership change, and we've had a number of House members who have transferred. As John said, and as Bob said, we were really focused on regular membership and how we can get more. So the first thing we did is said, how can we focus on reducing that first year sticker shock of initiation fee and certificate? And so the first thing we did is reduce the certificate cost from $22,700, what it would be in 2019, to $9,525. That really allows us to bring that down, and we'll pay out in the future at that 100% of the certificate cost. We would change the extended payment terms for initiation from the current 2 years to 4 years. What the sum of that means for a regular member is, back before we had extended payment terms, the initiation certificate cost for a new member upon election was over $88,000. With the 2-year term, it came down to something close to $30,000 in 3 payments over 2 years. This will allow it to go under $15,000 on 5 payments over 4 years. So it's really made that upfront amount of cash necessary and reduced that. We've also made changes in the associate class. The associate class and the junior class are really bridges to becoming regular members. We made a number of changes this year in it, but with the changes we've made in regular, we've needed to adjust the associate membership class so that it was more equitable to both the junior class and the regular class. So what we've done is reduce the time frame for associates from 4 to 4 years from 6 years. But they're still eligible when they convert to regular after that 4 years for a 4 years extended payment. So it can really look at it. It's a payment of initiation fees over 8 full years. We eliminated the extension that allowed people to go until age 45 because it really wasn't attracting additional candidates that we saw and wasn't in a way that was equitable with the rest. And then we changed the initiation fee, keeping the $15,000 in the first year, but making $5,000 of initiation fee every year after until they convert. Of course, those initiation fees will become applicable when they convert to a regular. And so it's very similar to that amortization schedule of a junior member, the other bridge class. And as Bob and John said, this is a combined financial plan for the master plan and membership. So while we were reducing certificate fees, we had to think about how that played into the overall assessment process. The overall plan is focused on making this affordable and trying to keep the assessments relatively reasonable compared to current costs. So current regular members would pay $155 a month versus the $130 they pay today. And then $45 a month, or $540, is lower than the other regular members, new members, or people who are bridging into new members, because that's in recognition of their lower certificate value. If they leave before the assessment complete, they also receive $500 annually, again, to complete that assessment, the reduction in certificate value. So overall, whether members had kept the higher certificate value and paid the higher assessment, or in this case, have a lower certificate value and pay a lower assessment, the overall financial impact is zero. In fact, it's slightly positive. New regulars, and those classes that are on their way to becoming regulars, juniors and associates who are 31 and above, will pay the full fee of $200 and instead get the lower certificate value when they join. So again, it's an equitable arrangement because they receive the lower certificate value. And all other classes were adjusted to attempt to get equitable representation, given the fact that this is a set of improvements that go across membership classes. The process is, assuming we don't need to make changes based on the feedback tonight, that over the next few days, the notice of the meeting, the proxy, and bylaws will be mailed to all shareholders in the next several days. You should receive it over the weekend or early next week. A special shareholder meeting will be held Saturday, August 11th at 3 p.m. That is in the brochure, in the same location. What we really ask for, whether you like the process or like the proposal or don't like the proposal, we really like as many votes as possible to really understand and make sure that we get the input of the members. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back to John.
So that concludes our formal presentation. We wanted to reserve as much time as we could for questions from all of you, and so the floor is open. And Bob, Bill, and I, our representatives here, will be happy to answer the best we can. John.
I'm curious why you haven't included the Phase 2 plan in this initial proposal to do the whole thing all at one time. There hasn't been any input as to what the cost of that Phase 2 would be, what the impact would be on assessments and whatever. And from my point of view, I'd like to see the whole thing done and bring this club to the highest level of acceptability.
Two reasons, John. One was simply the affordability. I think we just felt that we stretched the financing as much as we could. The assessments. We have also modeled, I would say, a financial contingency plan to make sure that we keep enough cash in the bank to get us through the disruptions we're going to have over the construction period. We're not certain as to what member attrition or turnover may be. So we're prepared to keep a lot of our balance sheet cash reserved for that. And basically at these assessment levels, we felt that, again, going back to Bill's comments, we're very focused on affordability for our current members as well as new members. And we just felt that this got us to the limit as far as we could go. Now, importantly in doing that, those Phase 2 projects, especially the paddle hut, will cost some money. It's not a simple plan because on paper it looks easy, but again, we're talking about adding a court, refurbishing that building, but also there's other logistics going on up there. The road that splits the tennis court from the paddle tennis is problematic. And once we began to look deeper and deeper, we decided we want to do it right. Whatever we do up there, we want to do a good job. We want it to be first rate, high quality, and done the right way. And the dollars that we started to look at were simply too much to try to tack onto this. So that's where we came out.
It does seem to me the financial impact is not that big. And, anything has that analysis been done in fact? And is there any input? How much more it would cost the members?
We have a general idea, but I think we've really focused all of our time on this phase one because we need to spend quite a bit of time on exactly what we need in the Rackets Hut and the Golf Teaching Center in terms of the infrastructure in those buildings. We could go with something very simple that meets some simple needs. We could go with something more elaborate. But our primary focus was to get this done first. And as John mentioned, we didn't think we could undertake the whole entire project at the same time and risk the timelines that we put forward to the membership. So I'm fairly confident based on the model that Bill, Bob Burke, and myself have put together, if all goes according to plan, we will have plenty of financial flexibility to tackle this sooner than later. But of course, that's subject to, the outside environment, the impact on membership, etc. But we are committed to that plan, but we just need to spend a lot more time. The Golf Teaching Center is pretty simplistic, but as John mentioned, it could be very complicated up by the tennis courts. There may be solutions that we can come up with as we put more time into it, but that's going to be our next train of thought once we get this thing off the ground. Because I think we all want to do this.
Another question. George.
First of all, I'd like to commend everybody. I think you did a great job.
Great job, you beauty.
You covered all the hills. The bar, for example, has always been a problem. And through several renovations, I keep seeing the bar in the same spot. So I think you guys handled everything great. The architect you hired looks like he did a great job. He's got experience, and Donnelly has a good reputation. I have one question. This is construction management cost plus, yes? The way we're building it?
Yes.
Okay. So the architect has a lot of experience with clubs, as does Donnelly Construction. What is the typical budget to finish price? Thanks. Does the budget end up close to the finished cost price most of the time, or are we kidding ourselves?
We've done a lot of due diligence with Rod Donnelly and his team, not only on our particular project. We've got very detailed estimates on every single aspect of what we've got in our conceptual plan, down to what the slate's going to cost on the roof, the exterior finishes, what the spiral staircase is going to cost, what the grand staircase over the pool is going to cost. So we've got that down to the granular. And we visited other clubs that Donnelly's been involved with. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Rod, if you want to say, but I mean, based on our analysis, they're 5% plus or minus on either side of their estimate once they give it to us, because they really excel at this sort of construction. And we feel very comfortable with their team and the level of detail that they've been involved with. I think the other thing, when we team up with Donnelly and Judd, they're going to be working with this side by side as we finalize these architectural plans. So if we come up with something, Shazad or Rod may say, you can do that, but that may cost you more than what we originally thought. So that'll give us the opportunity to rethink, how we do the snack stand. So that's the type of service that they provide to clubs that they work with. And that's the type of service that we kind of enjoy with the Judd Brown team. So I think working as a partnership, I'm confident we're going to deliver this on time, on budget.
Okay, great, Bob. Thank you. I do have one other question. When this is all done, is this men's grill a men's grill, or is this? It wasn't men's grill, but it wasn't, then it's not. And part of that goes to membership. We're trying to bring in new members, and why does it seem to me that a lot of the new members think that the men's grill should be a mixed grill? We have plenty of space up above. We have a bar up above. We have more patio. And, I like all you women. I don't have any problem. But what is, what's wrong with the men's grill? I play at Medalist in Florida, men's grill. a house membership on Pine Tree in Florida, men's grill, and it's never questioned whether it would be changed. So at the end of this project, is this a men's grill or what is it?
Bob? It's a golfer's grill. That was Mike Manley. He coined the term. It's a golfer's grill, right? So George, it's straightforward. I think that it's the board made a decision that the day and age we're living in, our facilities need to be open to all members. We're going to talk about attracting families and family clubs. We just all need to be in it together. Now, there's other areas of the clubhouse that we've looked at. In some of the clubs that we've all seen, there are ladies' lounges, men's lounges that are off the locker room areas. That's a consideration that we'll be looking at. There's nothing in these plans that address it at this moment. But that's basically the decision point that we felt we had to come to, and I think that's just the era we're living in, and that's what the vast majority of our members, spouses, families, and our prospective members, spouses, and families would expect of us.
Okay, thanks for the answer. I'm not a buyer, but
I'm really disappointed. I thought when we went through the notes this morning, I had that one. Yes, next question.
The second floor, the ladies' locker room floor, when will the staff be moving out? There was a question the staff would be moving out at some stage to some other area and giving us more. And the other part is the dreadful President's Suite, which is like an ancient Ramada Inn. Will this be part of the first stage renovation? Will it turn into something that we can people can have meetings, members can bring people in for meetings? Is there enough space up there that this could happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of moving parts that we don't have final clarity on. The first and foremost is what is the PGA going to do with their current utilization of Building 2, which is out in the parking lot. That's a very nice space that was renovated years ago, and that could be used for the club. And we haven't figured that out yet, so we're waiting for them to make an election what they want to do with that space. But our intent is to do the President's Lounge this winter when we have the shutdown. John Hemrick, myself, Evan, Billy, and Kevin are starting to think about that. We don't think that's going to cost a lot of money. We think we can do that in our normal capital appropriations. So that would be our objective, to get that room done this winter. And then where the accounting people are, that's a nice room, but we have to figure out where we're going to put those people. So that upstairs area is going to be upgraded and renovated and redesigned. That's something that we might be able to do ourselves. We might get Donnelly Construction involved. We just haven't crossed that bridge yet. But we're committed to upgrade the entire clubhouse. We're going to do bits and pieces, along the way. And I think the same thing goes, as John mentioned with the Jacobus room. A small detail that we haven't figured out yet is with the elevator where it's positioned, we're going to lose quite a few lockers in the lower locker room that need to be repositioned. And where we reposition those locker rooms, we need to think through carefully. Because right now we are running out of locker room space with all the new associates and the new juniors. So that is a detail that we have to get into. So all these things are in front of our minds, and we will have solutions for everything.
I've got my questions really relate to the budget and finance plan. Just before I make comment on that, I think the plans that have been proposed really capture the essence of the principal objectives that the membership was looking at. So everyone involved should be congratulated. But I have really three questions related to the budget and finance plan. One is a simple one. First one, furnishings. Is that included in the budget?
Yes, we do have a number in our budget for fixtures, furniture, and equipment.
Okay. Second question, available cash. You list $2 million in terms of the slide. Is there any contribution from the Northern Trust tournament? Or is that an additional add-on to the $2 million?
Well, Northern Trust money will be in addition to what we currently have in the bank, and we do have relatively healthy cash balances, but as we earlier said, we want to make sure that we run a very conservative balance sheet, that we're financially prudent, so we want to make sure that we have cash reserves available for unintended events down the road. So that's why we're going to borrow up to $9 million and use $2 million of cash. And some of that other cash that we have, we may be able to redeploy depending upon capital inflows and other factors.
And the third question I have, and final question, is the $7,500 reduction, I guess, in the bond, the regular member bond. That is presumably a non-cash item. It is a contingent liability in the sense that no cash is coming in to finance the capital improvements from day one. Can you go through a little bit more detail in terms of how that's going to work? Because my understanding, just based on that cryptic one-line summary, is that the regular members are going to be will vote on whether to reduce their existing bond by $7,500, and then for every year after that, for up to 15 years, it's a $500 increase in value of the bond. Or is that incorrect?
No, that's incorrect. I mean, the way it's going to work is every regular member today, the bond is using a January 1, 2019 valuation. That bond is worth $22,700. The exact amount of money a new member would have to post to become a regular member. But because the way the current bylaws are structured, any member leaving would get 75% of that value back. So it's roughly $17,025. So what we're saying is we're asking all regular members to make a contribution of that bond back to the club. It is a non-cash item, and we fully agree it does not finance or pay the mortgage. We get that. What we're trying to do is make it fair to future members and existing members. So if you were to leave in 15 years, you would get $9,525 back. If you were to leave 5 years forward, okay, you would get your $9,525 plus $500 a year for the next 10 years. So you would recoup $9,525 plus another $5,000 for only the time that you're here, paying the assessment and enjoying the club. So we're trying to be fair and equitable. That's the way it works. And for that bond contribution, that allows us to charge a lower assessment. So the $7,500 reduction in bond, it just so happens it's a $7,500 discount to new regular members and the juniors and associates. So that's what Bill was trying to say. Financially, it's a wash. So we thought that most members, current members, would rather have a lower cash monthly payment in exchange for giving up future value. We thought the new prospective members would not mind a higher cash outlay because they're going to enjoy posting a much lower bond that will no longer accrete in value over time. It's fixed, it's there, it doesn't earn interest, it doesn't go up in value. So we thought that was a very fair trade for both existing members and future members. Now, we could have done this entirely different. We came up with 3 or 4 different scenarios, and we struggled with this. We thought this made the most sense because, once again, we're trying to achieve multiple objectives. Paying for the mortgage, keeping the members happy, and attracting new members. And really, it's that latter category that we want to be sensitive to as well. So we think it's a good plan. Obviously, not everybody's in favor of it. The other thing we could have done is just said, okay, everybody keep their bond, and we'll charge you $200 a month. But we think this is a better way to do it.
Thank you.
Frank Busaro, a 25-year member, and I spent 2 years, and we should give Mike Manley the second round of applause because he really put a tremendous amount of work in this thing. And I know everyone's got the best interests of this club at heart. I don't question that, obviously. And I applaud the board for putting the time and effort they did. Other foundations put a lot of time and effort in. I know it can be, not recognized enough as it should be. But the plan we put together last April started with basically, with the advice of architects and planners, a $200 assessment to regular members. And it included everything that we have here, which is wonderful and much needed, I would say, and I'm all for it. However, we determined that a $200 assessment to regular members would come to an additional $70 a month over the $130, or $840 a year. The equivalent of taking 3 guests out and to play golf on one day. Okay? Now we've lowered that. If that was an $18 million plan with a $200 assessment, borrowed over 20 years, which included some capital items that are going to have to be addressed in the future, air conditioning and other elements, that would have protected the dues going forward. Now we cut it back to $11 million, and I want to remind everybody that the Performance Center on the Range, Kevin Boswell designed one for $300,000. That was beautiful years ago. Should have been done, and it wasn't done, and now it's being postponed again. And we want to be cognizant of, the cost of everything. But we're talking about a $25 increase in the bond, going from $130 to $155. That's $300 a year. That's the equivalent of a 2% increase in dues. Now, my feeling is that we could do better. We should do better. We should do this one shot. Now, I understand, because we talked about this, the complexity of the tennis court or the platform court and building, and it is complex. But the Performance Center is not. It can be done simultaneously with everything that we're doing in this building, because it's off in the distance. And it should be done now. And it shouldn't be put on a second phase. And for another $10 a month, or thereabouts, I would imagine, we could do this. Now, you can build a pool. Our pool is 90 years old or something. You can build a pool for $500,000, let's say, and it could be an adequate pool. But we know that demographics are changing. We know the average 40, 45-year-old person, okay, is now, instead of playing golf on a Saturday or Sunday, he's going to soccer games and baseball games and everything else, ice hockey and so on. So we understand that we have pressures in bringing new members in. But if you build it, they will come. We have the finest golf course in this area, hands down. There are 3 issues that people look at when they come into a club and decide what club to join: golf, facilities, and price. Okay? We have the finest golf course, hands down. We probably have the worst facilities right now, and this plan will bring us back to where we should be. But it could be done better, and it could be done in a better way to attract new members. So I think $25 assessment for regular members, an increase, is ludicrous. And it should be revisited so that the Performance Center can be done properly, and that we can do things like the President's Room or other things that should be done now and not 10 years from now. And listen, I'm 71 years old. This is not for me. By the time this gets done, I'll be concerned about access, handicapped access. But it's for our children, it's for the future of the club, and it's doing the right thing. You only get a chance to do this once as far as I'm concerned. We put 130 assessment down for the golf course, and it was a great investment. It contributed, at least contributed to the fact that we got four FedEx tournaments here, which probably will net us $10 million in total. So I think the board should revisit that assessment and raise it a little bit, get the Performance Center done, and do the extra touches that people want. They want an experience. And every course that we visited in the 2 years that we worked on this committee, visited all the courses that did this. In Newbrook did $20 million. North Jersey has a $400 a month assessment, 250 fixed and 150 that's voted on every year. Come on, this is a Ridgewood Country Club. And we have to compete. And that's how you compete, by giving people the greatest experience. And so I'm all for this plan and a little bit more. I think that should be considered. Thank you.
Frank? I was listening as to whether there was a question. But no, seriously. I appreciate all your comments. We talked about it a great deal. We talked about it a great deal, and I think we considered all those factors. We considered everything. We considered whether it should be more or less. We've certainly heard from other people who have a different point of view and believe that we're stretching. You could add one project to another project to another project, and the fact is, we don't have regular members knocking down the door to get in, despite we're Ridgewood Country Club. and we would certainly love to think we're of that stature.
Every club that invested, my club, the new club was dying before they put $20 million in. And now you
No, I understand that.
And I'm not saying you have to build a Taj Mahal, but if you're saying that all this comes to this membership was a $25 a month increase, less than 2%. I think that is your side.
Well, I appreciate your comments. At the same time, I can assure you, we've heard many from the other side who believe that, this is a lot of money, and we're asking a lot of people, including new members. So we'd love to have them. It's a matter of price. And when we looked at those projects, what we also tried to do is look at the rationale that we were looking for ways to give the most to the most members. And if we do the pool, the clubhouse, the dining, and the pro shop, and so forth, those projects touch the most number of members across the board, every category. The Performance Center, I know you'd love to use it. A very small, much smaller percentage of our total number of members would use that, Frank. And we had these discussions. Believe me, we considered them very carefully. We've gone back and forth. We made a judgment. That's our judgment. I appreciate your point of view.
Speak up, Frankie.
Microphone. Sit with Kevin Boswell and Bruce and myself, and they built a 2-story performance center. Okay, and the big complaint was that it was too small, and that brings members in all winter long. Programs could be run out there. We asked, "What do you do in the snow?" The guy said, "We have 30,000 old balls. We just hit them into the snow, and when we collect them." That could be revenue positive. And for a $300,000, $400,000 investment on an $11 million plan that's being financed with a $25 a month increase, I think it should be done.
Frank, we heard you loud and clear, and I do think that facility would cost somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. I think the big issue is we want bathrooms out there. That's a whole different kettle of fish. If it's just a simple little teaching center, that's one thing. But that's something we're going to dig into. You have our word. If we can squeeze it in phase 1, we'll do it. The paddle hut's a little bit more complicated. All these things are going to get done. It's just a matter of timing. We do need to protect the club. Our financial interests.
Next.
Another question. Yes.
The master plan is to provide an exceptional dining experience, and I applaud the board and the committee for providing an environment that is going to do that. You put a ton of work into this, and I plan to vote for it. But an important part of an exceptional dining experience is the quality of the food and the service. I've been a member for 24 years now, and our food and service here used to be the best of Bergen County many years ago. And I don't think we're at that standard right now. I think we're far below that. Is there a plan to try to address that element of providing an exceptional dining experience as well?
Well, a couple of comments, Ned. I appreciate you feel that way. At the same time, we get overwhelmingly positive comments from members in the comment cards and throughout the year. We weigh that, and we do very good business in the clubhouse dining now. I mean, our results are very good. Our covers are very high. So I know there's differences of opinion in terms of what people expect in terms of everything you mentioned, but there are plenty of people who do enjoy it. Having said that, I think the answer is we're always looking at service, and we're always looking at the quality of what we do here. And further, I think when we do this, it's just going to give us an opportunity to look at everything we do fresh. And we're going to be looking at an expanded kitchen, the new dining areas we've all talked about, and I think we'll just have to look at that as an opportunity to address all of these issues.
Thank you. I leave the financing decisions and all of the rest to everyone more knowledgeable than I am about that. And thank the committee for all their hard work. But it seems to me that to attract these new families, we need to do more than just the facilities. There's kind of an attitudinal change that maybe needs to happen, an embracement of children. People they join for golf, but they also they're dedicated to their families, as has been said. So more that attracts people makes it really comfortable for them to come with their children. An example is a club in Jacksonville, Florida, with my nephew belongs to, that has a lovely little children's room. 6:30 to 9:30, you can drop your child off. They have a wonderful time. They serve them dinner. The adults go up and have a great time. They pick up their kids at 6:30. They pay for the babysitter. And my nephews, who are 3 rebellious little kids, actually ask their parents, can't we go to the club tonight? So I think, and this is probably not part of this discussion, but maybe an ongoing discussion, but possibly reserving some space in this plan where there could be childcare for the 9-hole golfing women, younger women who want to go out and do 9 holes of golf or even tennis, just a little more thought in that direction if that's possible in allocating the space.
No, certainly. Well, I think a couple of thoughts there. One is we do see many more children around the club now than we've seen in many, many years. And certainly when my family was young, it's just night and day. And I think we are trying to react to that in terms of the programs we put on. We've had some, over the years, Evan and his staff have developed some wonderful programs and events, the 4th of July party and the barbecue and so forth. There's more activity at the pool. We have the Halloween and the haunted house and so forth. So I think we're trying to be very attentive to that generation. And I think we're very confident that once we finish the improvements here with these facilities, it's going to give us a lot more versatility with respect to space in the clubhouse. We're going to have a much nicer area here. Whether that provides more versatility and space for this room for alternative purposes at different time of the day, possibly. And we're going to have more space along the overlook. So it's with the nano-wall system that Bob referred to, that can give us the option of enclosed dining there. We're just going to have a lot more versatility to the space we have here. And so I think the short answer is that it's just going to give us a lot more options, and certainly that's the generation that we need. We need to attract them, and if those are the things that attract them, we'll just have to be attentive to that. At the same time, at some point, the club can't be all things to all people. But I think we've made strides, and I think we'll continue to, and it'll be those members of the future that will make it clear what they're looking for out of the club.
Thank you,
John. Summer camp.
Also, the robust summer camp, and where the kids get golf and tennis instruction. They show up in the morning and they come and get golf and tennis instruction. They stay for lunch, and then they have time at the pool, and they have times with some crafts and so forth they do. And I believe they go till around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and that is a very well attended program. It's become very popular in recent years, and we've had to do a lot more work around that to staff it, so forth, which is fine. That's a good problem to have. But that has been a very successful program, for the club, and it's again part of what we do now that many, many years ago we just didn't have nearly that kind of a program in place. So.
I have a question. I actually like all your proposals, and I also want to say that I think the club has done a marvelous job bringing families in. I think the programs for the kids in the last few years are wonderful. But I wanted to ask you about getting new members. Are you setting aside a budget to do some advertising in magazines like 201 or maybe Ridgewood News, or a PR campaign to let the public or golfers who do not have a current club know what Ridgewood Country Club is doing to make itself even more attractive and trying to get people to be new members? How are you getting the word out to people that we would like to have them as members here?
Yes, good question. Answering the first part of the question is we are a private club. And we want to maintain what is referred to as, we want to avoid the so-called public accommodation laws. Those are fairly well settled that we can't advertise for new members. We need to make sure that we still have a club where members are sponsored by existing members. Further, we have restrictions on the ability to advertise for restaurant sales or weddings and so forth. So we've avoided opening those doors, as have most private clubs. And there's a fair amount of law that's out there that deals with that. Otherwise, what happens is we open ourselves up to all sorts of other laws and regulations because we become a so-called public accommodation instead of a private club. So we are limited in that regard. In terms of trying to get the word out, though, over the past several years, we have a lot of initiatives that we've established. We've basically grown it from informal networking among our members and have different events here, the No Frills Golf Tournament, to make it very inexpensive to bring guests, our pig roast that we did last week. And we put more formality around that a couple of years ago when we formed a new committee. In addition to the membership committee, which vets new candidates, we have a membership development committee. Their job is to do exactly what we talked about, is get the word out to our members, explain to them the new changes in the membership programs we have, and then try to make clear to people that we'd like to hear from them and their friends and reach out to their contacts and let them know that, that Richwood Country Club would be a fine, very nice place for them to join. And it's been fairly successful. We've had a lot of junior members come in through that program, junior non-members, I'll call them non-legacy, technically refer to them, associate members, and also a fair number of regular members. Not enough, not as many as we like, but we're continuing to do that. We've also had a meeting that Ed Myers, who's not here this evening, who is the chairman of that committee, ran a wonderful program back in the early part of the spring for all of our members who just joined recently over the last 4 years, I believe is where we drew the invitation list, just to make sure they knew that there was, they should be encouraged to bring in new members. Just because they're newer, we'd love to have them reach out to their family and friends. We're going to have a similar meeting for all of our members in September, just to make sure that we continue to inform all of you, not only the changes that we have in terms of membership categories, pricing, and so forth, but all of the process. We have vastly simplified the membership application process. And new members can come in here and basically get elected to membership much sooner and on a much faster track than what we had several years ago. So those are the initiatives. A very good question. Those are the initiatives that we're working on.
Thanks, John. I want to add my kudos to the committee and everybody. Given what you've had to work with, I think you've done a magnificent job. I do have some concerns, however, about the financial. Speak up. I wrote my comments down because I don't want to ramble. I believe the plan as it's presented is unwise and unfair. I don't understand why the committee is mixing the re-engineering of the membership certificate with the construction financing. I believe the handling of the $7,500 haircut of the member certificate is particularly unfair to the more mature members of the club. Those who don't outlive the 15 years will have their families subject to a long-term payout, as opposed to that which was promised when they gave the money to the club many years ago. Equally detrimental, if the plan is adopted, will be a need to place approximately $3 million of debt on the balance sheet for the deferred credit or payment scheme. I think it would be more prudent to leave the existing membership certificate on the existing pay-as-you-go methodology and have all members, class members, pay the cash assessment as determined by the committee. So that would mean 130 goes to 200. I think it results in the club getting more cash. That more cash pays the debt further, reduces the debt cost. We closed 2017 with $4 million in the bank. I'm guessing we'll probably get $1.5 million from the Northern Trust. And hopefully, if we stay on target, we'll probably net $500,000 from operations this year. That'll give us $6 million at the end of 2018. If I'm right, we should probably up the down payment and put $3 million down versus $2 million. That reduces the assessment. Finally, on a more personal issue, I request that the board reconsider their proposal to start charging senior members assessments. The bylaws currently say there will be no further assessments to senior members. On average, the senior member in this club has been here for 39.6 years. Most of them have incurred 3 capital campaigns and have paid approximately 4 years of dues. I think they should be given some level of respect and recognition. Thank you.
As I mentioned, there's a lot of different ways to do the financing plan. The board thought this was the best plan to achieve a number of different objectives. You're right, a higher assessment would bring in more cash. We're trying to balance that off of the $22,700 certificate for new members. We're the only club in the area that has a certificate of that valuation. Most clubs are getting rid of these certificates completely because they don't really serve a purpose. So we're trying to balance a lot of different factors and a lot of different variables. I'm sympathetic to what you're suggesting, but we've spent countless hours analyzing the scenarios and the alternatives, and we think this is the best plan for this club at this point in time. It's just on the seniors, we have heard that comment, and we do acknowledge that the senior members have been loyal and have been longstanding members. But when we look at the overall plan, the seniors continue to use the club quite regularly. They do enjoy, 55% of the dues. And we just thought it was fair to all member classes to contribute something, given our rich heritage to the club. And I think all of us want to leave the place better than what it started. And we do acknowledge that the long-term members have contributed, but this is kind of where we're at. We know some people aren't happy with that, but this is the plan that we're going to go forward with. And if we can make changes down the road, we'll consider them.
Question. I have a question. I'm a senior. I have no problem with the assessment, but part of the arrangement when it was decided that seniors wouldn't be assessed is we gave up our vote. Will we get our vote back now? And if not, why not?
The way to get your vote back is to become a regular member. That's our bylaw. That's our structure, and so it's there is no plan to give the senior category or any other category beyond regular a vote. So those will remain the stockholders in the club. We're certainly sensitive, to every member category and every member class. We want to hear from you. We're trying to be equitable, as Bob has talked about across the board. But no, there are no plans to change our voting structure or voting schemes. As a technical matter, the senior group, just so they know, also holds a member certificate. They traded in the regular certificate when they converted to senior, and currently they do hold a certificate worth, I believe, $2,600. And that certificate will remain in place. That value is not changing as part of this plan. So we get 100% of that $2,600 when they resign from the senior class.
Getting back to George's question about this grill room, I get the idea that we're going to a mixed grill in the world is going that way. My question is this: there was some talk when you heard about these plans about the Jacobus room becoming one of these, like a men's lounge, kind of like the ladies have up off of their locker room. And you go to some of these other clubs and they have them. So can you talk to, was that thought about? Why was it abandoned, if it was thought about, and anything else that came up about that?
Sure, Barry. Yeah, we have thought about it, and it's not abandoned. I think it's on the to-be-determined list. As Bob mentioned, we're going to have to deal with some construction aspect down there in getting the elevator down there. That's going to cause us to move some lockers. That's probably going to cause us to move Billy's station down there. And so there's a variety of factors there. So we have considered that. We'll need to consider it further to make sure all those pieces fit together. The other aspect of that is that also serves, in the diagram you see, as a multi-purpose room. We do use that for other member use and private parties and, people playing cards or having private meetings and so forth. So I think once we get this thing finished, we'll get a much better idea in terms of how we repurpose and use the different areas of the clubhouse for those kind of functions. And that will all be considered when we get to looking at the, how we wind up with the Jacobus room. I think it's a very good possibility that that's where we'll wind up with. So,
John, Lou Mulvaney. John,
yes, Lou.
I just make a constant concern for new members. I don't think we could have a better marketing and advertising concept going on than the past Barclays and coming Northern Trust. You have the local newspaper, national television. We have anywhere from 5,000 to 15,000 patrons that walk these grounds during the tournament. So as far as Ridgewood being recognized, it's well taken care of with these tournaments. That's my comment.
Good. Thank you, Lou. Anyone else?
Jim Cedarstrand.
Yes, Jim.
I was wondering, 15 years ago or 16 years ago when we did this before, there was a prepayment option, which was less than paying the monthly capital fee every $200 a month for the next 15 years. Is there any thought about doing something like that?
Yeah, we have, Bob. Bob and his committee went into that in a great bit of detail.
The last assessment, 38% of the members prepaid. As Bob Burkwood mentioned, it's very difficult to anticipate when people prepay and eventually leave, and you got to rebate that money. So we are not going to offer any prepayment option to any member. We just think it's a better way to manage our finances and our cash flow on a year-to-year basis.
First,
Is that Dan Clutter?
I don't need the mic.
You're in the shadows back there, so.
Yeah, Hugh Dugan. Yeah, I understand that some of our older women golfers.
Okay, you're still in the shadows.
Okay, is that better?
Much better.
I understand that some of our older women golfers have stopped playing because they can't climb the stairs anymore. Could you confirm that the elevator will provide access to the women's locker room? That's my first question.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Excellent.
No.
Second question.
No, there's still 5 steps to go up.
Yeah.
Technically, you're absolutely right. I've never been in the ladies' locker room, but it will take, the elevator will go to right outside of where Michelle's office is and where Allison's accounting room is. So ladies will have to walk down and then walk up that little 2 or 3 step, whatever it is, into the ladies' locker room. It will not open up into the ladies' locker room.
Is that a satisfactory answer, I guess?
No, actually, can I?
Yeah, I do have a second question, John.
Hugh, let's get your second question, and then we'll go to the other side.
Yeah, second question. The sketches were not entirely clear to me, and I haven't heard it mentioned tonight. But the sketch seems to show an outdoor dining area and a fire pit in the area which, as I read it, looks like about half of our present putting clock. Is that part of the plan, or am I misreading the diagrams, or what is it?
It will be right out those windows, Hugh. It will be between the windows and the cart path, right where that shrubbery and lawn area is right there.
Okay.
And the plan is, if I understand it correctly, Bob, the fine detail is that these windows will open onto that patio where the fire pit is.
I see.
So
Okay,
effectively
thanks.
expanding this room, certainly.
There was another lady had a question.
I just want to know, how will we access the elevator after we come up from a round of golf? I can still climb the steps, but it's getting tougher.
That's a very good question, because the elevator is going to be located where the existing bar is in the Ryder Cup Lounge. So people are going to have to walk around if they need to use that elevator. And Kevin can speak to this better than anybody in terms of the elevation grades that we're going to have on the clubhouse, in terms of how the whole site plan is going to work to make it very user-friendly to walk from one part of the outside of the club to the other without putting a significant amount of stress on anyone, hopefully.
Also, if we could ask the architect, even just making that staircase a turned staircase with a landing, as opposed to, do we have room? I know it takes more room to turn, the landing type of staircase.
Yeah, I mean that's a detail. I think as people have concerns as they look at the plans, we're still in the conceptual design phase, so we can clearly work with Judd and his team and Wayne Rod and Shazad to see if we can come up with something so it's just not a direct spiral
I
staircase.
think it would be nice to be sensitive to our older ladies who can still hit the ball a ton. They are really good golfers, but it's an issue.
These are details that are all going to come out in the
Thank
next
you.
few months, and we're going to continue to solicit input from everybody to make sure that we have a good final plan.
An open bar with hors d'oeuvres. Is the next person who wants to ask a question. Seriously, are there any more? I think we've addressed a lot of your. Yes, Bill. Seriously, I'd like to just finish. I thank you all for attending tonight. It's obviously a very important initiative for the club. I just thank you for reading the brochure and for asking very well-informed questions. Thank you all for coming tonight. And by the way, I ask you, what we would like is for we really implore all of you to vote. It's a different way to